So the first thing you're going to type is you're going to type mkdir intro to JavaScript. And if you do that, it should create a folder for you called intro to JavaScript right here. Then you are going to type in cd intro to JavaScript to change directories into the intro to JavaScript directory. And if you do that, we should be located inside this directory currently, where we can create a new file, touch an index.html file, just like that. And if you do that, it should create an index.html file inside your intro to JavaScript folder. Create one of those, and then also create one called script.js, just like that. So you should have two files inside your intro to JavaScript folder. Go ahead and do that right now. Make sure your partner has a file structure that's exactly like this. Yeah, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to paste all of that code that I gave you on Slack into your index.html page. So right here where it says index.html, you're going to, and you just double click the file, by the way, to open it up. Double click index.html and double click script.js, because those are the two files we're going to be working on today. If you have both those files, they're both in here. We can then go ahead and paste all of that code I gave you on Slack directly into the index.html file right there. So just copy this whole thing like that. Copy. Hello there, Ivan. Hey. And paste, just like that. And then your file should look like something like this, if you did it right. There we go. So this is your index.html, and every HTML page has something like this, where at the top it's an HTML. It's letting us know the document type is HTML. And then we have an HTML tag, which holds everything. A body tag, which is going to hold the stuff that appears on the page. And we're going to come in here and we're going to say H1 DVD logo animation. And we're going to save this. Now, everything inside the body is what appears on the page, and everything inside the head is what's going on behind the scenes. Now, you'll notice two new things here. Each of these now have a new tag. What is this tag called? Script, a script tag. Script tags are how you include JavaScript in your project. And here we've referenced a file using src equals the name of the file, script.js. Now, our HTML files end in .html. Our JavaScript files end in what? .js, exactly. And we're going to write all of our HTML, or all of our JavaScript directly in the script.js file. But first, before I do that, I'm going to click on the index.html right here, and I'm going to preview the page to make sure it shows up. So if I preview it, and I drag it right over here, ta-da! That is exactly what I want. Make sure you can get that right now, or your partner can get it. And if they can't, call me over and I'll help you guys fix it together. Now in JavaScript, JavaScript does not work the way HTML and CSS does. JavaScript is entirely different. JavaScript is a real programming language, which means we can build things, store things, change things, move things around very easily. We do all of that in our script.js file. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to start to write our first bit of JavaScript code. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, the main component of JavaScript, the one you use the most often, is known as a variable. We create variables by using the keyword var for var. A variable is just like a container. It holds pieces of information. You create a variable by saying the word var, the keyword var, followed by a space, and then the name of your variable, like the name tag you would want to put on your container or box. In this case, we're going to create a variable called DVD, and then capital I, M-A-G-E, DVD image. This is the first time I've created a variable, which again is just like a container that I haven't put anything inside yet. So you say var DVD image. Now, right below that, I'm going to create the next thing we use most often in JavaScript, which is known as a function. You create a function by writing F-U-N-C-T-I-O-N, the keyword function, followed by the name of the function, which in this case, it's very important that we use this name, preload. Now, every single function starts with the keyword function, followed by the name of the function, followed by 2 parentheses, like this, an open and closing parentheses. Every single function needs to have that opening and closing parentheses. After the opening and closing parentheses, you put a opening and closing squiggly brackets as well. A function is just a block of code that runs whenever you want it to. And all of the code that runs for that function goes inside those squiggly brackets right there. So if you click inside those squiggly brackets and press enter, we will now have the ability to enter code into our function. So I'm going to say DVD image, the variable we created a second ago, that container. I want to put inside it, and we do that by saying equals load the image, and we have to say the name of the image, which in this case is going to be, in quotations, DVD logo.jpg. var DVD image, and then we're saying function preload, and this function literally runs before the whole thing loads. So the function preload says that the DVD image, the variable, is going to hold load image, and then in parentheses we use these little double quotations and we say DVD logo.jpg. Now that looks for a file inside of our Intro to JavaScript folder named DVD logo.jpg. Do we have one yet? No, let's put it in there. So everyone head over to Slack really quickly. And I put an image in Slack, the DVD logo image. Scroll over until you can see that little cloud with the arrow pointing downward. That is your download button. Go ahead and click that button. It should download the image for you. And then when it downloads it, there's a little bottom bar at the bottom. Now, I don't have it, but at the bottom, you should have this little bottom bar, and there should be an arrow next to it that says Show in Finder. Click that arrow and then select Show in Finder, and it should open up a little Finder window like, let's see if I have one here, actually. Finder. No, give me another one. I don't want that one. There we go. A little Finder window like this, with the DVD logo image right there. Just go ahead and drag that image directly into the folder we're using, this Intro to JavaScript folder. When you do that, that image should load up right there. Now we're going to do 2 more things before we can get drawing, but I wanted to show you this part first. The next 2 things we're going to do, and I'm going to move quickly, and then I'm going to go back and help you fill in all the blanks. We're going to make one more function called setup. And we're going to write in there, create canvas 800, 600, and one more function called draw, where we're going to create a background of Dodger blue. And I'm going to stop here for a second because I've just typed a ton of code, and I'm going to help catch everybody up to make sure they have it. But if you did everything correctly, if you look at your preview, the preview of your page, it should look like this. If I pop it into a big screen, yours should look like this. If it looks like this, you did it correctly. If it doesn't look like that, raise your hand, I'll come help you out. Cool? So I'm going to leave this code up here and I'll come help you out in a second. If you have any errors in your code, like say for instance you misspelled the word DVD logo.jpg, say you said DVD1 logo.jpg, if you go to your page now, the blue background won't exist, it'll just say loading right there. If yours says loading, means you either misspelled this word here, or whatever is in quotations does not match the name of your image right there. If either of those two things are true, that's where your error is coming from. And I can always help you fix that if you need it. The next step here is to put our image on our canvas. And the way we do that is we come down below where it says background Dodger blue, and we write the word all lowercase image followed by parentheses, and we say the actual image we want to load, which is DVD image. It's stored in a variable, followed by comma 50, comma 50, comma 100, comma 100. Now that might be a lot of stuff. That's going to be a little confusing at first, but I'm going to break it all down for you. We're going to see what happens. Now just really quickly, when I do that, it'll look like this with a little DVD logo image right there. If yours did that, you're good. If it didn't, we got some work to do. It's okay, but just make sure everyone gets that right now. Now on this page, we have two different kinds of things. Well, we have four things total. We have variables, which if you look at our little presentation, a variable, again, is just a container that holds something. We give it a name, which is like its label for the container, but whatever goes inside there, we set using the equal sign. We also have these new things, which you're just seeing for the first time, data types. We have two different kinds of data types, numbers and what's known as a string. And a string is just a series of characters. If you head over to anatomyofcode.com, what anatomyofcode.com does a great job at is it shows you the different ways that JavaScript represents data. So if I send a text message to one of my 5 girlfriends, that text message is going to be in a string data type. And if you scroll over the words hello world, it'll say string right there. Because anything you surround with double quotations in JavaScript is a string. And if you scroll down, it'll tell you strings are collections of letters, numbers, and punctuation. You can write anything in a string as long as you put quotation marks around it. But then we have another kind of data that we're going to use here, like this number 100, and these are just called numbers, and they're just numbers. You don't need to know too much more about numbers, because we're going to play with them a lot right now, and you're going to see how they work. So in this first example, we, in the setup function, we said create canvas, and we gave it 800, 600. What do you think 800 and 600 refer to? Yes! Who said that? Nice work, Ivan. The width is going to be 800, and the length, or the height, actually, better way to put it, is going to be 600. So the canvas is 600 tall and 800 wide. Below that, we created a background with the color of Dodger blue. Could we have used a different color there? Yeah, you can put whatever you want. This is a string. A string is anything surrounded with double quotations. In this case, it's you helping us determine exactly what color the background should be. Now, right here we have the word image, and we're loading in the DVD image, followed by 4 numbers. What does that first number do, Misa? 50. What do you think 50 does? Yeah, if you had to guess. How big the box is? Not quite. Let's take a look at where this box is. The top left corner of this box is exactly 50 away from the left. And that is because this first number we put here was 50. The top left, it's sort of like margin. Exactly, it's sort of like that. Except our canvas here works like a grid. So it goes across from 0 to 800 and down from 0 to 600. So the first two 50s move it 50 from the left and 50 from the top. What if I turn that first number into 250? Let's check out what it looks like now. It moves it about almost halfway down. So this is how we can move things around on a page. We just need to change whatever is stored here and here. What does this 100 refer to? How tall and how wide it is. Exactly. So now that we've done that, it's time to kick it up a notch. So the first thing I'm going to do is right above the draw function, I'm going to create 2 new variables. Variable X position equals 50, and variable Y position equals 50. And these are going to take the place of the position of the DVD logo image on our canvas. The reason why we're using a variable instead of a number is because if the number is 50, you can't change that. But you can always change what is inside a variable. And so if we set the position of the image to two different variables and we change those variables, then the position of the image changes. And this is how you create an animation. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create two new variables, x position and y position, and then we're going to replace that first 50 with the name of the variable we just created, which is what? X position. Nice. And we're going to replace the second variable with y position. Now, if you do that, it won't change anything on your screen. But if we make a space here right after the image and we say x position is equal to x position plus 1, that will change everything. I want you to write that in, save it, and somebody tell me what happens when you do that. Now what happens is when I refresh this page, I messed up. What did I mess up?
Oh, so you messed up after?
I did mess up. Yes. Let me figure out what I didn't save the file. Classic. Now that I've saved it, thank you. I see the DVD logo animating across the page. But then, when it reaches the end, what happens? Gone! And it's not coming back. It's not oh my god. And never coming back. Oh. But in this case, the problem is that computers are really, really, really dumb. They don't know that we want that DVD logo to come back. Wow. To make computers smart, we have to give them the ability to make decisions. That decision is usually one thing or another thing. And we can create those using an if statement. So you say something like this. If, just the word if, and then a space, and then parentheses, and then squigglies, like this. And what if statements do is they say if whatever is in here is true, then it'll run whatever is inside the squigglies. This is how you make computers smart. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if the x position ever gets greater than the whole length of the box, which how long is the box again? 800, yeah. If it's greater than 800, we'll set it back to 0. X position is equal to 0. And if we do this, as soon as it goes past the end of the page, it'll reset itself back to 0. Let's see what it looks like now. And I'll give you all this code. I'm going to paste all this code into Slack in a second. I just want you to see what it looks like. So now as it animates across the page, it's still moving very slowly. And when it goes past the end of the blue box, it's going to, oh, wait a minute. No. There we go. Lovely. It starts over from the beginning. Now, it's still going a little too far. I would like it just to hit the border and come back. And the reason why it's not doing that is because the actual box itself is 100 long. So we need to subtract 100 from this. So instead of 800, let's put 700. And that should fix a lot of our problems. Now I'm going to save this and I'm going to paste it all into Slack so that you guys can take a look at this code and make sure you are caught up before you go any further. Cool?
Yes, sir.
Love it. Yes, Cerritos Auto Square. I agree. So now everyone should have it. And I want to see, by the way, what is the problem with this right now is it just starts over. It goes to the end and then it starts over again, then it goes to the end and then it starts over again. That's not really what I want. I want it to go backwards once it hits the very, very end of this. Now, to make that happen, we need to introduce one more variable. This variable is going to be called x speed. And we're going to set it equal to, let's say 3 for now. That's how fast I want this DVD logo to travel. Its x speed should be 3. Now if I do that, I can replace this x position equals x position plus 1 with x position equals x position plus x speed. So the thing here is, this draw function is adding the speed to the position of the logo each time it runs. So when we do this and I press save, By the way, I made another variable called x speed right there, so just make sure you can see that. If I save this and I check out the P5 intro, it should go to the very end and then hit the end and start over again. Great. But the problem is, again, I want it to go backwards. So let me ask you a question. Instead of saying x position equals 0 here, how can I make this DVD logo go backwards? What'd you say? Well, we could change the y position, but that would be only moving up and down, right? So we want to say, right now, it's moving to the right at the x speed. But let me ask you another question. I only add 3 to the position one time. So why does it keep moving? It is exactly, Jose, it is a loop. A loop in JavaScript is a piece of code that runs again and again and again and again and again and again and again. I know I can do this all day. This is by far my favorite GIF of all time. A loop is code that gets repeated. The draw function is a loop. It runs 60 times every 1 second. Because it runs so many times per second, it makes it look like the DVD logo is animating, but we're actually just adding 3 to it really fast, like 60 or 50, 60 times a second. So this loop, this draw function loop, makes things look like they're animated because every time, about 60 times per second, it comes here and it creates a background called Dodger Blue, then it makes the image, then it updates the position, and then it checks to see if the position is greater than 700. Now, what happens if I get rid of this background Dodger Blue? Let's see what happens if I get rid of it really quickly. I'm going to copy it, delete it, save it. Let's see what we get. Whoa! What the heck? The reason why is because the position of the DVD logo is changing, but we're not covering it up with a new background each time because this loop never stops running. So our job is to, even though we're not actually animating it, what we're doing is redrawing the same picture slightly moved a bunch of times per second. And this is what creates a look-like animation. So I'm going to put this back so we get something working again. And can anyone tell me how I can get this DVD logo to start moving to the left instead of to the right? Right now, oh, what'd you say, Yanira? Using a negative. What should I use for a negative? Ooh. So I could say x position equals x position minus x speed, but I don't think this is going to work. Can anyone tell me why this is not going to work? Well, every time we run, it adds x speed, and then it subtracts x speed. So it's just going to cancel each other out. What I actually want to do is I want to change x speed to make it move backwards. What does x speed have to be for it to move backwards? A reverse. It's a physics question. That's exactly right. Not y speed. That would move it in the up and down direction. Oh, yes, we need to make x speed negative. That's exactly right. How do we turn x speed into a negative? What can you multiply a number by to make it negative? Times -1. Now watch what happens when we do this. Are you ready? I'm going to save it. I'm going to refresh it. It's going to animate across the page. It's going to hit the right wall, and it's going to bounce back. Oh, let's go. You see that? That is our first animation. Now your job, oh no, wait a minute. It left in the left direction. We didn't tell it to go back if x position is less than 0, did we? So your job now is I want you to make this DVD logo bounce back and forth. You have about 3 minutes to try and do this, 3 to 5 minutes. Try and make the DVD logo bounce back and forth between both walls. I'll put the code back up, give it a shot, and we'll come back together in about 4 or 5 minutes. Now, for those of you that were able to figure it out, congratulations. If you didn't yet, it's okay. I'm going to give you some hints, and then you're going to create the rest of it to make all of this goodness change. What you're going to do is right here, what we're really saying is as soon as this DVD logo hits the right, about 700, we want to reverse the speed. But then when the DVD logo's position is less than 0, we want to reverse the speed again. So we say if the x position is less then 0. Let's reverse the speed again by saying x speed is equal to x speed times -1 again. And if you do that, I'm going to make x speed like 5 so it goes fast. You can see this. Dink. And ready? Ready for it? Dink. And now it'll go back and forth forever. Now, if you have tiny little bugs in your code, you'll notice that it doesn't work exactly the way you want it to. I'll come help you fix that. What I want you to do next is we have this variable called y position. We need to create a variable called y speed. And let's see if you can make the box bounce around all of the walls without ever leaving. That is your goal for the next 10-15 minutes. And then we're going to call it quits for today. If you finish that, see if you can change the background color by creating another variable called background color. I'm going to set it equal to Dodger Blue here. And then right here, where it says Dodger Blue, replace it with the name of your variable, background color. And then whenever you want, you can change this variable, and it'll change the background color of the screen. Give it a shot. You have the rest of the period. You have the rest of the period to do this. I wish you the best of luck. Work with the people around you. If you need any help from me, let your boy know.